Okay, welcome back to Percent Problems, Part 2. There might be a Part 3 depending on how long this takes, so we'll see what happens there. Jus Pal is how we're going to solve these things, which we talked about in the Part 1. So I'll be hitting some of those concepts, but more to Gallup this time, since I presume you've already seen the other one. So percent problems using the Jus Pal. It's easy. All right, we're going to start off with 15 is what percent of 45? Last time we solved different types of these. This time I'm changing it up a little, but we're still going to use the same pattern. The two lines with the 100 there, the percent, and then decide which place the number goes. And then we're just going to be off and running. We're going to zoop out, knock it out, and we're going to be done. So we'll start off with 15 is what percent of 45? Well, I see right away that it's a percent issue, a percent of something, or something is a percent of this or that. So I already know to go ahead and make my lines and have my percent there. That's my first step. Before I think, put that down. Next step, figure out what this is. Do they give me a percent or are they asking for it? In this case, 15 is what percent? What percent? That's an X. What percent? Now I'm already halfway done. Haven't even had to think yet. Love it. So 15 is what percent of 45? Notice the 15 is goes on top. Or you can say 15 is the part of 45. So the part. Either way you want to remember that. 15 is what percent of 45? Now once we have it set up, we just look to the X. X marks a spot. X is on the right, so we take the left and kind of throw it over there for a bit. So we're just focusing on the X and the 100. So start with the X, the flip side. Flip side of the X is 100. And we start there, zoop, pow. So we go over here, we multiply as it crosses here. It reminds us to multiply. This reminds us to divide, and we covered all this in the first video. So 100 times 15, well that's 1500. So 1500 divided by 45. Then we would just have to do this. 45, you have a calculator, it's easy, just push the buttons and stuff. But if you don't, then we would divide it longhand, 45. Which is not that big a deal, just taking it step by step. We're going to 1, no. 15, no. 150, yes. How many times? 3 times. 45 times 3 is 135. So I put 135 there. Do my subtraction. I get 15. It is lower than this, so I can bring down my 0. 150. Well, it's still going to be 135. If I go another time, it's going to be too big. So 135. I do my subtraction again. This looks kind of vaguely familiar. Okay, 5. And then I get the 1. That's what I had here. So it's just going to keep on going. But I'm not wanting a decimal here. I'm wanting a fraction. If I'm wanting a fraction. So it kind of depends if they want fractions or decimals. I'm going to do a fraction because fractions are fun, and fractions are more friendly. Decimals can get ugly because they can go on and never end and get anywhere. So we're just going to do that. 15. Well, 15 is our remainder. 15. Now watch how I write this and what I say. 15 out of how many? That line means out of. It's not over, remember? Out of. So 15 out of what? Well, out of the 45 I've been using this whole time. And there's my answer, except I can reduce that. So 33, that'd be 33. And this 15 divided by 15 is 1. 45 divided by 15 is 3. So 33 and a third. So my answer now is 33 and 1/3%. So if I want to say 15 is what percent of 45, well 15 is 33 and 1/3% of 45. So there we go. The Jus Pal, we just started in a different place. But no matter where you start, find the X, flip side of the X, cross corner, Jus Pal. And then put your little arrows on the end, or again, you'll probably go backwards. People do that all the time. Easy fix. Okay, the next one, I'm gonna walk through it again so you can see it again with the Jus Pal. 16 is what percent of 40? Well, again, I know I'm doing a percent thing, so I do this before I think. Do I have a percent, or did they give it to me? Is what percent? So what is X? What percent? So I go back to the number. 16 is. Ooh, and is on the top. 16 is. Now, they're not always going to be worded this way. I may need to reword it to fix it this way. If you're into the wording thing, you may have to swap it around a little bit, but you can get there, and the more you play with it, the more familiar it gets, and so on. But 16 is what percent, or what part of 40? So here we go. And again, the x at this time happens to be on the right again, so we take this and throw it over there for a bit. So we have the x, flip side of the x is here, cross corner, zoop, pow. Multiply here, divide there. So again, we're coming back to this. So we got 100 times 16. Well, if you don't know what the zeros, here's a little trick for zeros. Throw the zeros over there, so you just have a 1 left over. 1 times 16 is 16. Then you bring the zeros back and put it back on. So that's one of the easy things you can do with zeros. And we covered that a little bit in more detail on a couple of videos ago. So we have 1600 divided by 40. So, well, going 1, no. 16 divided by 40, can't do that. 160 divided by 40, yes, 4 times. And yes, you could, if you wanted to, you could cancel this 0 and that 0 and do that too, but I just didn't happen to do it this time. So it will work either way. So we got 40 times 4, just to double check it, 0. 16, sure enough, 160. That gives us 0. Indeed, 0 is less than 40, so I can bring down the other 0. Because I have a space here, I still need to fill. So that will go into there 0 times. 40 times 0 is 0. Subtract that, and I get 0. So I end up with 40. 16 is 40, whoops, 40% of 40. 16 times 100, 100, sorry, times 16 is 1600. 1600 divided by 40 is 40. So 16 is 40% of 40, which sounds kind of weird, but there you go. It's easy. Anybody can do it. Now I'm going to change it up a little bit on you. Now the x will be in a different spot. 60 is 40% of what number? Sounds familiar, but we're going to see this. Again, we start with our percent there. So I know it's going to be a percent of something kind of issue going on situation. So I do this. So I've done this one. We've done that one. 60 is 40%. 40%, okay, so they gave me the number this time. They gave me the 40. 40, do not do this. That'd be percent. You don't want to do percent, that's just weird. So 40%, because that line, remember, one thing this line means is per. And cent means 100. 100 means cent. So 40%, it's already there. Do not put the percent there. Some people trip up on that, and they divide it by 100, and then they convert it to a percent. So you're doing the 100 conversion again, so you do it twice. Don't do that. Just go here. Okay, so 60 is what, or is 40% of what number? 60 is. 60 is. Is on top. 60 is 40% of what? Oh, of is on the bottom. Of what? We don't know what the whole is. This time the x is down there. That's okay. We solve it the same way. Look for the side of the x. This way it's on the left, so this goes away, and we're just left with this side here. So we start with the x, flip side of the x. Sometimes we flip up, sometimes we flip down. So we flip up this time to the 60. Start there, cross corner, zoop pow, multiply, divide. So we go backwards from what we did last time. There's not a frontwards, backwards, it's just you learn the other one first. 60 times 100. Oh, the zeros. Well, get rid of the zeros. You got 6 times 1 is 6. Well, you had 3 zeros. Now you bring them back. So we got 6,000. That's the first part. Divided by 40. Divided by 40. Well, notice that? You can knock that right off. So now we have 600 divided by 4. So let's just do that. 600 divided by 4. One time. It is 2 is less than 4, so I can bring down my 0. 5. That'd be 20. I do have to bring this down here. Times 0. 4 times 0 is 0. Yay! So it's 150. So there's my answer for here, 150. So we have 60 is 40% of 150. Make sense? Easy. Anybody can do it. We'll do one more. So we do the last one. 30 is 16 2/3. Oh, we have a fraction. It's okay. If you looked at my fraction videos, it should be easy by now. 30 is 16 2/3% of what? So again, I'm doing a percent. So I set this up again before I think. That way I can do a lot of it without thinking first. Do I have a percent or did they give it to me? Well, they gave me 16 2/3%. So 16 2/3. Percent is already there. Now that looks weird. Don't let that fool you. We're just going to take it step by step, step by step. Okay, so we go back to 30 is. 30 is. So we have 30. 30 is 16 2/3% of what? Of what number? We don't know. So that's an x. So now we're set up. It's easy. Didn't hardly have to think. So we look at the x. X is on the left. Flip side of the x. Cross corner and go. Now don't, again, freak out at all the zeros and all the fractions. Step by step by step by step. You don't need a pizza all in one bite. Take nibbles or maybe bigger bites. But you don't need to do the whole thing at once. Don't do this whole thing at once, just step by step. 30 times 100 is going to be 3,000. How do I know? 3 times 1 is 3, then I have 3 zeros, so I put those on the end. 3,000, okay? Divided by 16 2/3. No problem. We did this already in the division of fractions video. So this becomes 3,000. And this becomes, start here, go around, multiply here, add here. And I'm going kind of quickly because you should have already seen the other videos by now. So this would be 50 thirds, but I'm still dividing. I need to flip the second number that I'm dividing. So we got 3,000 3/50ths. So now I can cancel out. 50 divided by 50 is 1. 3,000 divided by 50 is, oh no, what if I can't do that? Well, okay, if you can't do that, even though you know it will work because they both end in zeros, if you knock a 0 off here and a 0 off there, now you just have 300. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 5 to 300. Well, I don't know that. Well, since we got rid of that 0, what if we cover up that 0? Now we have 30. Do you know how many times 5 will go into 30? Well, sure, that's 6. And then we just have this other 0. So it's 60. But we're not done. Our first step here with the zoop, pow, 3,000 divided by this, which we did here. So now we have to multiply across. 180. 180 divided by 1 is 180. So 180. Not so bad as you might have thought in the beginning. 30 is 16 2/3% of 180. And that's it. That's the zoop, pow, help knock out the percent problems. See you in the next one.